Hey, Peace Collective. This is Candence Green. I am so happy to be with you today for the season 3 finale of Cherishedflight Live, the couch sessions. I'm just excited about today and just really happy that you are here joining me for today's show. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm going to introduce who is going to be joining us today in just a minute, but I wanted to give you a quick recap of what we have done during the 3rd season of Cherishedflight Live. So I wanted to really address mental balance and mental wellness for this 3rd season. So I've had some of my friends who are licensed therapists to come on and join me. So our first week, we had the great Miesha Rice from Whole Family Healing Group, who came in and we talked to some young people about how they have been coping with COVID, right? And so we had Ayana and Justice, who they were just some wise young ladies who actually shared some great insight with all of us with how they had been coping. The second week of Cherishedflight Live for season 3, I had the great Erica St. Bernard from Your Life's Well Counseling. And we talked about how women are so overwhelmed by the world and everything that we just keep wearing this cape, this superhuman, superwoman cape. And what we did was we talked about the importance of Sabbath rest and making space for ourselves. And then we literally took our capes off and put them at the feet of Jesus. And that was just amazing. That was an amazing show. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch that one. Last week, I had Jeree Cotman on. We talked about mindfulness-based therapy and how to use that to address chronic unhappiness and depression. We did some exercises, and we also did some mindfulness eating. And you can do this whole exercise with anything, but just taking the time to really enjoy what you're doing, to be in the moment with what you're eating and what you're experiencing. So that was last week with Jeree Cotman. Today, I'm bringing back my good friend, Miesha Rice. Let me pull Miesha on.
Hey,
Miesha.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You know what? You've been on this is the 3rd time that you've been on with me, and I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm very appreciative. Congratulations to you on all of your success so far. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But you know what? It's not me by myself. And every time I've done this, I've prayed and asked God, who should I bring on? And he's just shown me, your faces. And so I'm just very appreciative that you said yes and that you're back with me today as we're going to be talking about our seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Let me change that word.
Yes, because they have already let you know.
In the green room, they told me, please don't call us seniors, call us mature citizens.
There you go. Get it right now.
So we are talking about our mature citizens and how they have coped with 2020. I know for many of us, we have not visited our grandparents on purpose.
Yeah.
Because many of them have pre-existing conditions and we don't want to compromise their health. But for us not visiting them, that puts them in isolation. And so I wanted to kind of talk about this because we've talked about young people, we've talked about women and men, we've talked about educators, but we haven't been talking about our seniors. And this topic it came to me when I was watching the nightly news, and there was a couple, mature citizens, who lived in one state and their child and grandchild lived in another state, and they were devastated because they would not be able to see them for Thanksgiving because of the rising COVID cases. And just to see how being isolated for the past 8 months had impacted them, it really struck me that we need to talk about this. So as a therapist, Miesha, what are you seeing and hearing from our mature citizens?
Yeah. So what I am seeing and hearing is that they don't know how this is going to pan out for them. Like, how are they going to transition back into quote unquote this new normal? Because they are a specialized group of vulnerable people, right? So we don't know if the vaccine is going to be, viable for all of them. We don't know if they can just go and be around people, be around friends and family. A lot of them have different challenges, physical, mental, and health challenges that are really going to play a big part in how they transition back into this new normal that is being prepared by the government.
Mm. So that still puts everything, like, there's just a huge question mark in the air.
Right. When will this end for them? We don't know. We really don't know. And it has to be a case by case basis. And, we really have to really think about how susceptible they are to so many other things, because COVID-19, it could have symptoms of pneumonia, for someone who already has lung challenges or breathing challenges, COPD, and, things of that nature. You just don't know what to do. You don't want to take those kind of chances.
Right. Exactly. Especially here in just in the state of Maryland alone. Yesterday, there were over like 3,000 cases, new cases of COVID, just in one day.
Just in one day. So think about a mature citizen who has been home since March. Think about how they're feeling. They have almost overnight have to really think about how they're using technology. Again, isolation, not being able to enjoy holidays as they have used to. So things have really changed.
Right. So when you're talking about how they've been home and isolated since March, I was reading an article in the Huffington Post about these two women, their daughters, their mother and father. The mother was home taking care of their father, being a caretaker, but their mother began to show signs of dementia.
Yeah.
And when they took her to the hospital, to the doctor said nothing's wrong with her. She just would rather not deal with this world, in isolation and being lonely.
Yeah.
And so what happened was when her state kind of eased back on the phases, then they were able to get their mother and take her to the museum, have lunch with her outside at the park, and she began to revive herself. But my question is, for people who don't necessarily live in the same state as their, parents and matured citizens, what can they do to help when they start seeing these kind of health conditions sparking?
Yeah. So what they're really seeing is that, mature citizens can have a more rapid decline, in their mental status, for especially times like this, because they can't go anywhere. And it sounds as if this particular person was almost dissociating. Like, I just don't even want to become, consciously aware of anything that's going on right now, because I don't know what's going to happen. It's scary. Yeah. So what my suggestion is, or what I would encourage a family to do, is to look into resources where, they have some resources where you can call, like they have programs, call a senior, like they can have someone reach out to a mature citizen and, have regular checkups to see how they're doing, and they can relate, maybe be a link between them and the family, just to have someone in, close proximity with their loved one.
Right. Well, I wanted to not just talk about our mature citizens, but actually have them speak on their own behalf. So I reached out to a couple of mature citizens that I knew, but the two that responded and said, yes, I'll do it, are two of my biggest supporters. So I'm going to bring them on right now. It's Dolores Green, who is my mother-in-law, and Rita Gardner, who is my mom. So I have my moms on here today. Hi, moms.
Hi.
Mom, can you hear me? Mom Gardner?
I can.
Okay. Turn your volume up just a little bit, Mom Gardner. Okay.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, much better. All
Okay.
right. So we have my mother's on today, and they are going to actually share their experience about 2020 and how they have been coping with everything that has happened this entire year. And then we're going to just have a nice little conversation about that. But I would like for, let's go with Mom Gardner. You go first.
Okay. Well, when this started, I remember the day exactly that Nashville went into lockdown, March 11th. And one day,
Mom, can you turn your volume?
your what? My what now?
Your volume is kind of low.
What about now? Now?
Her hand
Okay.
is covering it.
Your hand might be covering your mic
Microphone.
on your phone.
Okay. What about now?
Okay, go ahead. You said in Nashville in March.
Yes, in March, on March 11th, that was the day that they announced the what we call the shutdown. And that was the day before my birthday. And my family came over, Nashville family, my son and his wife and my two grandsons, and we celebrated. Well, the next day I was thinking, what in the world does this mean, a lockdown? Well, after several weeks, I discovered that what it meant, that we could not go out at all. My son and his wife were picking up food for me until I decided I can do this for myself. I had to sit down and think, okay, how am I going to keep sane during this time? And I came up with two ideas. One, I could do projects around the house. And two, I could make everyone in the family an Afghan. So I did that. So I'm working on that right now. And the project around the house, I redid all of the cabinets in one of my bathrooms. All by myself, I did that. I didn't know I could do that. So I learned how to do that. Now in another bathroom, my project is, it was before I moved in, a lady loved wallpaper. So I just took all of that wallpaper and stripped it from the walls. I'm in the process now of redoing that bathroom. My son comes over sometimes once every 2 weeks and we look at a movie together, which is sort of funny because, and then we talk about politics almost every day. He will call me. And then I have grandchildren who remember me. So they call. Adia will call, well, she taught me how to use Zoom. And Amani calls and Sakari, and we talk about different things. I also have two older grandsons, and they will text a lot. They like to text. So they text me. But I am keeping busy because if I don't keep busy, we have been in this a long time and we will be the last ones I've heard to leave. I
Right.
also have I do these different Bible plans where every day I wake up and I do a Bible study. And I have friends that will call and we talk. What I miss most of all, though, is visiting my grandchildren, my daughter, and Derek, my son in law, in
Mhm.
Baltimore, because I would go and stay for a while, and they would always come for Christmas. So instead of thinking about what I can't do, I guess I'm just thinking about what I can. And I'm
Oh,
trying to do things.
Yeah.
And I like to read. And I discovered that I also like to be read too. So I joined Audible and I just have it read to me. So that's what I'm doing now to try to
Yeah.
keep, ahead of loneliness. Right.
so good. Really good. That's awesome.
Mom, Dolores,
Okay.
what about
Yes.
you?
Well, when things changed, I, in the beginning, not knowing what it was going to be, I thought, like most people, that we just shut down for a short period of time and then everything's going to open up again. Well, that didn't happen. But in my life, I feel I have a lot of positives that keep me going. For example, I have a strong faith in God, and I believe that He is going to show me the way and what I need to do. I also have a background in nursing, so that gave me the information that I needed to realize that this is serious, this is not a game, and these are what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I remember quite a number of years ago, I live in New York. Um, Years ago, when I was early in my nursing career, we were dealing with the polio situation. It was very scary then because nobody knew what it was, how it transmitted from one person to another, and that was, of course, all before they could get a vaccine to prevent polio. The other thing was we had a very bad flu season, and the hospital was totally overcrowded. There were beds everywhere in the hallways. They even used some of the demonstration rooms to put beds in, and so on. So that, when I realized all these situations that, had occurred in my past, and yet after a while there was some solution to it in terms of vaccine and different measures the hospitals were taking, uh, it gave me hope that, this in its own time will change up. In the meantime, I have several friends that I'm in touch with, and two in particular. We text and talk all day long, either on the phone or by text or whatever. And we always end up laughing at some crazy situation or whatever. So that keeps me going in terms of I have some comedy in my life that I can laugh and so on. And in calling people, I find that people are so appreciative. Oh, you thought about me. And just listening to people sometimes, at the end of the conversation, they're saying, well, I'm so glad you called. I was thinking of somebody to talk to and whatever, and you're the person that called me. I have two friends that are actually my mother's friends that give me so much hope. One lady is 97 years old. She is just as upbeat and positive as can be. And she says, well, I can't go out and I have this closet full of clothes. I'm going to get dressed every day. And when Sunday comes, I'm going to put on my Sunday clothes, just like I did every Sunday before. And I will just sit down and listen to my church service. And she comes up with all these other measures that she's doing to get through the pandemic. And she's really one of the people that support me more than she realizes.
Mm.
And then just the other day, I was talking to another friend who lives outside of Atlanta, and she is over 100. She's very
Wow.
close with her age, but I know she has to be at least 103. She
Wow.
lives by herself, and if you talk to her, you would think she's, a much younger person. And she also has a very strong will. And she says, well, whatever I have to do, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. I'm not going to say that they should do this or let me do this or whatever. So those are two people, especially that I look up to, because I said, if they can do that, I have no reason to complain. The thing that bothers me the most, I would say, is the fact that, and the same thing Rita said, you can't really visit with your family, and particularly the grandchildren as they're growing up. But I have a niece, Janelle, that has periodically set up a Zoom program for the whole family. So that is great because you can see everybody and talk to them. So the relatives that are in Boston, in the Boston area, or in Jersey or Florida or wherever they are, we get a chance to actually see their face and talk to them. And that's one of the things we did Thanksgiving. Janelle called and said, bring your dessert and we'll all sit down and have dessert and we'll talk about who cooked what for Thanksgiving or whatever. And that was really the highlight. I had gotten up, well, the day before, I decided that I was going to celebrate Thanksgiving the way it should be celebrated. So I cleared off the dining room table. I put a new tablecloth on. I put my chargers on. I put my fine china on and everything. And I set the table for 4. And I even had my candles on, which I lit. And I had my dinner and then I went to the Zoom meeting or whatever. So it's just my way of keeping things as normal as I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing I noticed that both of you said was that you are interacting with others, calling one another, calling your friends, being on Zooms, learning how to do, learning how to operate 21st century tools in order to remain connected. And then one important thing that Mom Dolores said was laughing and interacting. But when you're talking to your friends, some of your friends, I don't know, Miesha, if you thought about this, but and you're reaching out to them, are any of them having trouble just with this time? Are any of them saying, hey, I just can't do this when you call them? Mom Gardner, any of your friends? Or Mom Dolores, any of your friends?
No, they are keeping busy.
Keeping busy.
Yeah, there's
with
one.
different things that they're doing in their life.
Mhm.
Mom Dolores?
Yeah, there was one person that in the beginning, she was saying, oh, I can't stand in this house. It's too, it's getting too much for me or whatever. And she solved the problem. She happens to live near the water. And she said what she was doing was getting in her car, driving to the shore, which is just about 5 minutes away from her house. And she just sits there watching the ocean, and she takes a book to read, and she puts on some music in the car, and that has helped her.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in the beginning, she was really, I can't stand being in this house. And she's not in there alone because she's raising her grandson, who's, I think, in junior high now. And it just took her a while to, really adjust. And I was a little concerned in the beginning, but now she's good.
I have a question for both of you. Both of you who have lived through many different racial uprisings in America, and thinking about the summertime and all the protests and the police murders, what was going through your head having lived through everything you've lived through, civil rights movement, everything you've lived through, and then coming back around and seeing all of that again? How did that impact you as well? Because I know it really impacted our young people and us as parents trying to explain to our youngsters what was going on. But how did that impact you as mature citizens, like almost reliving what you already lived before? I'll start with you, Mom Gardner. Mom Gardner, can you hear
It
me?
gave me hope to see that now, yes, yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you now?
Yes. Okay, Mom Dolores, you go ahead because I can't unmute her. Go ahead, Mom Dolores.
Um, I haven't really thought much about that now that you answer. I just know that there were times I would just say, this is going to be, this is crazy. Um, I did a lot of praying for people to, just not get involved in all of this rhetoric and so on. And when you see the protests, some of them are peaceful, but then the police were coming in with all kinds of equipment to, you know, break them up. And I had flashbacks back to the civil rights movements when they were beating up the people, the police were beating up the people like crazy. And I said, you know, it it brought back so many memories, but I said to myself, I can't allow this to get me down or put me in a situation that I can't deal with it emotionally or whatever. So again, I found my way out as, using prayer a lot
Hmm.
and then not focusing on the TV 24/7 to see who has to say what about this incident that just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I also find too that music
Hmm.
um, gives me a very calm nature or whatever. I listen if you even look at the dial on my in my radio in the car, you will see everything. You will see classical music, you will see jazz, you will see popular music, you will see music from the 50s, you will see music, um, calypso music, you
Yes.
will see Spanish music, and that. So I go from one end to the next, depending on what the mood is, or depending what I want to put the music to put the mood in my body or whatever. And then I also, and don't laugh, Candace, I also dance around the house.
Yes.
Put music on and I will dance. I did send a little video out early on in the thing where I was dancing to the music. And I got some very interesting remarks back from my family and friends.
Yes, Adia received that video.
Yes.
Yes. Mom Gardner, can you share what your thoughts were during when you were watching all of that happening and unfolding this summer? I think,
Say that
Mom,
again.
I said, can you share what you were saying before about how you responded to what was happening this summer with all of the uprisings as a result of the police deaths and the police murders that were occurring over the summer? What was your response to that, having already lived through the civil rights movement and seeing it all over again? Hmm.
Well, basically, gave me hope to see people of different colors marching together. It was like realize, oh my goodness, what they've been saying, African Americans saying, it's true. They are being treated different. So that did give me some hope. But when John Lewis died, that affected me in a way that I felt when he passed away. It was like he was so brave in everything that he went through, and he has a strong connection to man. People write up, they're naming the street after him. And it, like, I don't know, it was like an era that is gone because everything is different to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, that is true. I wanted to ask you, because we've also been dealing with a lot of loss, quite a bit, right, Miesha?
Yeah.
Not just with our families, but just loss of notable figures, pivotal figures, like my mom just mentioned. I mean, as soon as you get your footing, someone else passes on, or you hear about someone, a friend, a family member, whatever. How, what can you share as mature citizens about how to cope with all of this kind of loss? Like, how are you coping with it all? I'll start with Mom Dolores.
Um, it depends on the situation. If it's somebody who has been sick, suffering a lot, and so on, I think that gives me time to prep. And again, through prayer, find peace. Um, there have been occasions where I've had, a good friend, suddenly die in his sleep, and that hit me hard. But then I have to think about, this is not my plan. This is God's plan.
Yeah.
And no matter what it is, as much as it hurts or as much as it's a surprise or whatever, I have to give thanks to God for the time I had where I knew this person and interacted with this person, and be appreciative of that, and hope that they're just resting in peace and with God.
Yeah. Mom Gardner, what about you?
Well, it's very sad. So I called her and we talked about old times because we were very close then. And she told me there were three of them in the family, three children. And she was the last one left. And I think that's very sad. It's hard to lose a sibling. And then unfortunately, I read the paper and I look at the death notices. And I see people that I knew or family members of friends that I had in high school. You have to have like the Lord said, you have to have faith.
Faith.
You have to depend upon your faith. Accept it. And just thank God that you're living one more day.
Yeah. Miesha, what do you say to, I know our mature citizens are really dealing with,
Yeah.
losing their friends and colleagues, as we all are, but what can you share with them? Like they were talking about faith, and prayer and being connected to God. But, what other things can you share with them as well that can help?
I mean, honestly, I really believe they have hit the nail on the head with saying faith. It's this is a different time, because when you have those type of losses, you're not able to go, and you know how we would get together and go to the repast, or we fellowship and we get together and pray and lift each other up, in person, and hug and
Yeah.
things like that. And we're just not able to do that, at this time. So we have to use a combination of technology and also, I mean, faith, number one. Like, there's no doubt about that. Prayer and faith, and just asking God to just give you strength, to get through, because you're not even able to have the same kind of closure with these losses as we would have had pre-COVID, and we don't know how it's even going to be even after the world, sort of opens back up. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the technology and faith, and just being able to tell your loved one, I am, really sad about this or sad about that, or maybe your loved one having, those cues to know when you need a little extra support. Is that, I have an aunt dealing with the same thing. She lives in a senior building, and there have been people who passed away there, and friends are ill, and she's able to visit and go to the hospital. Like, it's just not the same. So, and I know she's definitely relying on her faith and reading scriptures, and they're praying for each other and talking on the phone and using Skype. So those are what my suggestions are as well.
Yes. I think one of the other things that both both of my moms have been saying is that they have been keeping themselves busy, um,
Yes,
with different activities. My mom is the DIY queen,
I love it.
and then my mother-in-law doing what she's doing to connect and remain
Yes,
connected with friends, and calling the older, more mature, more mature citizens that she knows, checking in on them, connecting with them. But the one thing that I really admire too about my daughter is this. My daughter said to me one day, you know what? I want to talk to grandma, and I want to talk to both grandmas, but I want to see their faces. So she taught them how to use Google Chat first.
awesome.
And so then when she learned Zoom through school, she taught them how to Zoom. And so I think that kind of generational connection across, grandparents and grandchildren, I think that grandchildren play
Yeah.
a very important role here, because they need the connection and our grandparents need the connection. What do you think about that, Miesha?
Oh, I believe that it's so important. I know how special my grandmother was to me. So to think that I would be in a time where I would not be able to see her or visit with her, I don't even know what I would do. So the fact that we're able to connect and maintain connection between generations with technology, I think is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And that's probably a big perk
Yeah.
to this time. What do you think, Mom, about that type of connection? Grandma Diva, let's go with you first. Grandma Dolores.
I I um I believe that that's really a key. And the only thing is, I do have a couple of friends that are not that savvy
Right.
on electronic devices. And although I encourage them, some like just give up. Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I try to walk them through it. And then I found with one of my friends, after I said, "Oh, today I spoke to um, one of the grandkids. Oh, today somebody else, went on Zoom and whatever." And she's saying, "Okay, I've got to beat this thing and get onto Zoom myself. But it does make it very, very much easier when you can actually see and talk to, um, whether it's your grandchild or your son or daughter or a good friend or cousin, whoever it is, it puts a sense of reality in your
Mm,
life.
yeah. And connection.
Yeah.
And connection. Um,
Connection.
oh, so I know my mom's having some technical difficulties, but we're working on it. Um, we're working on it. But I have this list that I found um, about how our matured citizens can maintain their mental wellness. And
Mm-hmm.
it's everything that the two of you have already said.
Mm-hmm.
Add structure to your day so that you have some goals that you're working on, that you're working toward every day. And whether or not you meet them every day is not the point. It's just to have them and to work toward them. Incorporate physical activities into routines. I saw this woman on Facebook. She was, I think, in her 70s, and she lost an enormous amount of weight walking around her house, like
Mm-hmm.
up and down her stairs. And she was really on it. Oh, and some ladies at my church, the SALT ministry, the seniors ministry, they actually do a live Facebook workout, like seated workouts every day at 10 o'clock. So they do that. They host a Facebook watch party to do that through the church. Um, Establish communication platforms with family. That's what we're talking about. Zooming and FaceTiming. Encourage everyday preventative actions. Um, and I guess that means like, oh, okay. They're talking about when you're going out wearing your mask and things
Right.
of that nature, 6 feet distance, the things that we're told and we know every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think what you all are doing right now, being so savvy and being able to connect online and call and FaceTime and Zoom and all of that is really great in helping you. And also the DIY.
Yes.
Sanding cabinets. My mom will text me and say, look at this cabinet. I just sanded it myself. I'm like, wow, I really wish you could come up here and help me in my own cabinets. But yes, I'm just really excited about, even though we can't see each other in person, I'm excited about the fact that you're still thriving.
Mhm.
Both of you are still thriving, and that you are not allowing this isolation to really to get you in a space where you can't get out of it. Miesha, what are your thoughts on any other closing thoughts you have about um, our seniors and their experience?
I think what the moms are doing is absolutely amazing, and that would be, my encouragement for anyone who is a mature citizen and dealing with the pandemic and not really sure what the end is in sight, to do whatever you can do to thrive, because what we don't want is for any type of sadness or depression, to set in, and that is just can take them somewhere totally different, and it's a little difficult to get out of it, especially when you kind of look at what things look like. So being able to thrive and keeping your faith and in prayer is definitely what I would definitely say put at the top of the list.
Mhm.
Yes, prayer. Do we have any last bits of advice from our moms that you want to share with us? Mom Gardner, any last bits of advice or any last thoughts?
Well, I've learned to laugh at myself
To laugh at yourself.
sometimes, make mistakes and do things.
You said you've learned to laugh at yourself
Yes, I've learned that.
and not take everything so seriously.
I really can't hear you, so.
Okay. Mom Dolores, what about you?
True.
I'm laughing now at what Rita said because a lot of times as I walk around the house doing things or whatever, and something happens, and I will crack up instead of getting disturbed, and then I sometimes talk to myself because I have very intelligent conversations when I talk to myself. Talking to other people, sometimes the conversation is not up to par. But anyway, and I grew up with a lot of comedy, um, and a lot of people. My mother and father always had people at the house, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, and everything. So, any day of the week or any Sunday, you could be sure somebody was stopping by, and then they would end up for dinner. And particularly my uncles on both sides used to try and outdo each other with the comedy and the jokes and the whole thing. So, that's just ingrained in my brain and my body. So, you know, you do laugh at yourself and you just say, yeah, why in the world did I do that? Now, I have the habit of covering myself very nicely. And if I walk into the room and went to pick up, let's say, a box, and I end up picking up a shoe, I'll say, oh, this is a shoe that I was looking for to put in the box or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I always try to be able to cover myself. I know sometimes my children laugh at me because they think it's hysterical. But anyway, I'm still here. I'm still in good spirits, and that's the way I plan to be.
Amen.
So yeah. So the key is laughter and keeping yourselves busy. And that
Right.
actually can apply to all of us because
Mm-hmm.
this has not been an easy year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Far from it. And I don't think we're anywhere near the end of COVID, but we can still employ some of what our mothers have shared with us today, which is laugh at yourself, um, reach out to others, um, and then also keep yourselves and your minds busy. Because as
Mm-hmm.
well, I know that my mother said this to me, and I know that Grandma Diva, Grandma Dolores said it. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. So keep your mind busy, and just reach out to other people. That's the key. That is the
Yeah.
key.
There is one other thing I wanted to say.
Sure.
Um, you also have to stop when you feel you're getting disturbed or something's bothering you. You need to stop and say, look, what am I complaining about? And start thinking about all the positive things in your life. Number one, you're still alive. Number two, you can still walk and talk. Number three, you can drive a car, you can do this. You look around and you say, I have a roof over my head. How many people do
Yeah.
not have a roof over my head?
Yeah.
True.
If I'm hungry, I can go to the refrigerator or the pantry and get something to eat. So a lot of it too is to start appreciating what you have. And particularly when you see the long lines of people waiting to get food or people
Yeah.
that are looking for shelter or whatever, and you realize, gee, I really have a good life. And, just thank God for it and, be aware.
Yeah. Being
Great.
grateful.
Gratefulness. I'm telling you.
It puts everything into perspective. It really does. When you look and see what other people are experiencing, that makes it easier too to give. And when you
Yeah,
get to those times you're when you're really discouraged about yourself, you reach out to other people. That shifts your perspective. It,
yeah,
it shifts it shifts your focus
Mm-hmm.
from you to others and helping others. I thank you, ladies, so much for today. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but that's all right. I appreciate both of you, for
Yes.
agreeing to do this. So I'm giving you, and also thank you for always supporting me. All of my moms and Miesha, they're all wearing the Inhale Peace shirt. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I couldn't think of a better way to close out season 3 of Cherishedflight Live, the couch sessions, than with the 3 of you here today with me. And I'm looking forward to the next season, which will be in February, when we're talking about love.
Oh, I love it.
The month of love and what that really means, God's love and what that really means. And I have some great guests that I've lined up for the month of February. So look out for that. Peace Collective, thank you so much for joining me today. I see a lot of the Green and Gardner families who have been putting comments up. So everybody's been watching, moms. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Please make some space for yourself this weekend and get some rest. Sabbath rest is so very important, especially during this season. Until tomorrow for our peace break at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. May the peace of God settle into your spirit.